My name is Clara. I am 26 years old. I live in New York and work in a small tech office. Life in the city is fast. People walk quickly. Everyone is busy. But I liked my life. I worked hard. I paid my bills. I was proud of that. Then, one morning, everything changed. That morning, I met Arthur. He came into our office as the new IT guy. He was tall, with kind eyes and a soft voice. I remember he smiled at me when he asked where the server room was. It was a small moment, but something in me moved. After that, I saw him every day. He came to fix wires, set up screens, or help someone with their email. Each time, I felt a little more excited. I was careful. I did not want to fall too fast. But he started to talk more. He asked me about my lunch. He brought me tea one afternoon. When he smiled, I forgot I was at work. After a few weeks, we started having lunch together. At first, we ate in the office kitchen. Then he asked me to go out. We walked to a small park near the building. We sat under a tree and shared fries. He told me he grew up outside the city. He said his family was not rich. I liked that. He was not trying to impress me. He was just being honest. And I was honest too. I told him about my small apartment. I told him I liked simple things: coffee, music, quiet walks. He said, "That's what I like too." If you're enjoying this moment with me, maybe you'll like more stories like this. I hope you can share your thoughts below and stay with me. Soon, we were texting every day. Good morning, good night, funny things from the office, silly pictures. I waited for his messages. When he was late to work, I felt something strange in my chest. It was more than a crush. I was falling in love, and I didn't know how to stop it. He started walking me home. He waited at the corner until I went inside. I wanted to kiss him, but I waited. I wanted it to be real. I didn't want to rush. One night we were walking after dinner. The street was quiet. A soft wind moved my hair. Arthur stopped and looked at me. "Clara," he said, "I like you a lot." My heart was loud. "I like you too," I said. He smiled, then leaned in. Our first kiss was soft. It was not like in movies. It was better. It felt safe. It felt right. After that night, everything felt warmer. We laughed more. We held hands when no one looked. We met outside work on weekends. We talked for hours. Sometimes we sat in silence, just feeling close. He told me he never felt like this before. I believed him. I told him the same. I had no reason to doubt him. But love is never that simple. Our office was owned by a serious man named Mr. Howard. He was strict, always in meetings, always serious. We did not see him much. But one morning, he walked in with a young woman. She was tall, with perfect hair and clothes too expensive for our floor. He introduced her as my daughter Lila. She smiled like she owned the world. Lila came into the office more after that. She said she wanted to learn the business, but she did not care about our work. She only asked about people, what they liked, where they lived. She laughed loudly and looked at every man like they were hers. I didn't worry at first. Arthur was not that kind of man. One afternoon, I saw her walk into the server room. Arthur followed her. They were alone for 10 minutes. I waited. My stomach felt strange. When they came out, she was smiling. Arthur looked serious. I asked him what she wanted. He said, "Just asking about the computers." But he didn't meet my eyes. I tried to believe him. Days passed. Arthur became quiet. He stopped texting first. He said he was tired. He said he had extra work. One night, I waited for him after work. He never came. He said he forgot. My heart started to break in small pieces, but I didn't tell him. I held my smile. I hoped it was just a phase. One Friday, I saw something I can't forget. Lila and Arthur left the building together. She touched his arm. He didn't pull away. They got into a black car. I watched the door close. I felt cold. The city moved around me, but I stood still. I went home and cried. I didn't ask him about it. I was scared of the answer. I wanted to believe he still loved me. I told myself maybe it was work. Maybe she needed help. But deep inside, I knew. Something was changing, and not in my favor. Then, on Monday, everything stopped. Monday morning felt strange the moment I walked into the office. The lights were the same, the chairs in the same place, the sound of keyboards just like every day. But something felt different in the air. People were quiet. I saw 2 coworkers whisper near the coffee machine. One of them looked at me and quickly looked away. I walked to my desk and opened my computer, but I couldn't focus. My hands felt cold. My heart beat too fast for a Monday. I looked around for Arthur. He was not at his desk. His chair was empty. I told myself not to worry. Maybe he was just late. Maybe the train was slow. But deep inside, I knew this day would break me. It was around 10 o'clock when Mr. Howard came into the room with his usual serious face. But this time, he looked proud. He cleared his throat and said he had an announcement. We all stopped typing and looked up. And then he said the words, "I'll never forget." "I want you all to join me in congratulating my daughter Lila and our very own Arthur. They are now engaged." The room clapped. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. My hands froze on the keyboard. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. I looked at Mr. Howard's face. I looked at Lila, standing behind him, smiling like a queen. And then I saw Arthur. He stood beside her, his eyes on the floor, his hands by his side, not even smiling. I waited for him to look at me. Just once. But he didn't. Everything after that felt like a dream, or more like a nightmare. People clapped, laughed, talked. Some even cheered. But my ears heard nothing. My chest was tight. My eyes burned. I stood up slowly and walked to the bathroom. I locked the door and sat on the cold floor. I cried without sound. I felt something inside me break. I kept asking myself why. Why did he lie? Why didn't he tell me? Why did he let me believe he loved me? I gave him my heart. I trusted him with everything. And now he stood next to another woman. Not just any woman, but our boss's daughter. He traded love for power. And I was the price. I didn't leave the bathroom for a long time. I cleaned my face and told myself to be strong, but when I came back, I saw something even worse. My desk was empty. My computer was gone. A small envelope sat in its place. I opened it with shaking hands. It was a letter from HR. "Your position has been removed due to restructuring," it said. No warning, no talk. Just like that, I was out. I looked up and saw Arthur at his desk, now holding Lila's hand. She smiled at me like she already won. And she did. She had the job. She had the man. I had nothing. I packed my few things into a box and walked out of the building. No one stopped me. No one asked why. It felt like I had never been there. I walked slowly on the busy street. People passed me, talking, laughing, living. I wanted to shout, to tell the world what had just happened. But no one would care. This was New York. Everyone had their own pain. I reached home and sat on my bed for hours. My phone was silent. No calls, no messages. Not from Arthur, not from anyone. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about every moment I spent with him, every walk, every kiss, every smile. Were they all fake? Did he plan this from the start? Or did he really love me and just changed? Maybe the offer was too big. Maybe he got scared. Or maybe he just didn't care as much as I did. That thought hurt the most. To him, maybe I was just a step in his story, a short chapter. But for me, he was the whole book. Days passed. I stayed in my apartment, too sad to go out. My heart felt heavy all the time. I didn't eat much. I didn't want to talk. I kept checking my phone, hoping he would say something, anything, even goodbye. But there was nothing. No sorry. No reason. Just silence. It was like I never mattered. Then one morning, I opened my phone and saw a post. It was Lila and Arthur smiling at a fancy party. The caption read, "The future of the company." My chest hurt again. I put the phone down and told myself this was the end. There was nothing more to wait for. I had lost my job. I had lost my love. And I had lost myself. But something inside me was still alive. It was small, but it was there. A voice that said, "You must stand up." I looked in the mirror. My eyes were tired. My hair was messy, but I was still me. I thought about everything I had done before I met Arthur. I worked hard. I was smart. I was kind. I was strong. I didn't need him to make me whole. That day, I put on clean clothes and went outside. The city was loud, but it felt different. I walked with my head high. I didn't know what would come next. I didn't have a plan. But I knew one thing. I would not let their love story break mine. I would not let betrayal write the end of my story. I would write my own. And maybe, just maybe, I would find someone who saw me not as a tool or a step or a game, but as a real person. Someone who gives love with truth. Someone who doesn't leave when someone richer walks in. I didn't know when or how, but I knew I deserved better. And one day, I would have it. The days after I stepped out of that office felt empty, like walking through a quiet tunnel where no one could hear me. I didn't rush to find another job. I wasn't ready. My heart was still heavy, and my mind was tired. I needed space. I needed to understand what had happened to me. For the first time in years, I had time but didn't know what to do with it. My small apartment felt too big now. The silence inside was louder than the streets of New York. I cleaned the kitchen twice in one morning just to fill the time. I looked at the couch where Arthur once sat. I remembered his laugh. I remembered how he said my cooking was better than any restaurant. I smiled at the memory, and then I cried. That's how grief works. It doesn't knock. It just comes in and stays. One afternoon, I walked to the small cafe near my building. I didn't even want coffee. I just wanted to see people, to hear voices that weren't in my head. I sat near the window and watched the street. People walked fast. A girl held flowers. A man carried books. 2 kids laughed and ran after each other. Life was moving, even if mine wasn't. The waiter asked if I wanted something. I said tea. He smiled and said I looked tired. I just nodded. When he brought the tea, he said, "Bad week?" I said, "Bad month." He smiled kindly and walked away. It was a small moment, but it mattered. Someone saw my pain, even for a second. Later that evening, I sat by the window in my apartment and looked at the city lights. So many windows, so many stories behind them. Some people were happy, some were hurting. I told myself I was not alone in pain. That thought gave me strength. I took out my laptop and opened a job site. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I typed anyway. I didn't want to work in a cold office again. I didn't want to sit near people who smiled at you in the morning and stabbed you in the back by noon. I wanted something new, maybe something slower, something honest. I didn't apply that night, but I made a list in my mind. Not a dream list, just a simple one. Places I might feel okay in, places that didn't remind me of Arthur. 2 weeks passed. Then one evening, while I was walking back from the store, I heard someone call my name. I turned and saw him. Arthur. He looked different. He was wearing a nice coat and shiny shoes. He looked like a man with everything. But his eyes were not happy. They looked tired. He walked closer and asked, "Can we talk?" My heart jumped. I didn't know what to say. I just nodded. We walked slowly to the edge of the park. It was quiet. The trees stood still like they were listening. He sat on a bench and I stood beside it. He said, "I'm sorry." I didn't speak. He looked at the ground and said, "It happened fast. Her father, he offered me things, a better position, a chance to grow. I was scared to say no. I finally spoke. And love? Was that part of the deal too?" He looked up. His face was pale. "I did love you, Clara," he said. "But I thought maybe this was better for my future." I laughed softly, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "And you didn't even say goodbye. You just walked into a better life and left me with nothing." He shook his head. I didn't know how to explain. I was a coward. I looked at him. He was the same man I once kissed under the streetlight, but he felt like a stranger now. "You didn't just hurt me, Arthur," I said. "You made me question everything about myself." He stood up and said, "I think about you every day." I stepped back. "Too late. You chose your future, and now I'm choosing mine." He didn't follow me as I walked away. I didn't cry. I didn't look back. I went home and made tea. I sat in the same spot where I used to dream about a life with him. This time, I dreamed about a life without him. Not a perfect life, just a real one. My heart still ached, but something inside me felt clear. I knew now that I was not weak. I had loved deeply. I had lost painfully, but I was still standing. The next day, I applied for 2 jobs. They were simple ones, not in big offices, not under glass ceilings. Just jobs where I could do honest work and breathe. One of them called me back in 2 days. It was at a small online company that helped seniors with phone tech. Nothing big, but it felt real. The manager was kind. He asked me what I wanted. I said, "Peace." He smiled and said, "You've come to the right place." I started working the next week. It was quiet. The people were kind. No fancy clothes, no fake smiles, just people trying their best. I made tea for everyone on my first Friday there. We talked about music, weather, and weekend plans. No one asked about my past, and I didn't share it. I didn't need to. And one evening, while I was walking home, I looked up at the sky. It was soft and blue. A small wind touched my face. I thought about Arthur, but only for a second. Then I thought about myself, about how far I had come. I still had a long road ahead, but I was walking, and I was not looking back. Life started to feel normal again, but not the old kind of normal. It was a new rhythm. I woke up early, made coffee, walked to work, and came home with a quiet heart. There was peace in routine, something I had never noticed before. At my new job, I was just Clara. Not someone's girlfriend, not the quiet girl from the office, not the woman who got hurt. I was simply a part of a small team, doing simple tasks, helping people one call at a time. Every time I helped an older person fix their phone or send a message, they said thank you with such warmth that it stayed with me the whole day. I didn't need big things anymore. I just wanted small, kind moments that didn't break me. One evening, after work, a few of us from the team went for a walk near the river. The air was cool, and the city lights reflected in the water. We talked about the silly things people say on the phone, about favorite food, and songs we liked when we were young. I laughed more than I had in months. One of the team members, James, walked beside me most of the way. He was quiet, but not shy. He asked me what I liked to do on weekends. I said I liked silence and books. He smiled and said, "That's rare in this city." I liked the way he spoke. Slow, honest, no games. It reminded me of the beginning with Arthur, before things changed. I didn't want to fall again. I wasn't ready, but I also didn't want to live like I was still broken. I told myself I could talk, walk, laugh, and still protect my heart. Over the next few weeks, James and I sat together at lunch. We didn't talk about anything deep, just small things, but I felt safe. One Friday, he asked if I wanted to walk home together. I hesitated for a moment, but then I said yes. We walked slowly, stopping to look at the lights in shop windows. He didn't try to impress me. He didn't ask too many questions. He just walked with me like a friend. And when we reached my street, he said, "I'm glad you said yes." I smiled. That night, I didn't cry. Days turned into weeks. My heart started to feel lighter, not because I forgot the pain, but because I accepted it. Arthur was part of my past, a part that hurt, but also taught me something. He taught me that I can survive, that I can fall, lose, break, and still come back. Stronger, quieter, but not bitter. One afternoon, while having tea with a coworker, she said, "You have a calm energy, like someone who has been through something and made peace with it." I didn't answer, but inside I thought, yes, that's who I am now. One Saturday morning, I saw Arthur again. I was walking near the park, and he was across the street. He was alone, sitting on a bench looking down at his phone. For a moment I stopped. My chest felt tight. But then I took a deep breath and walked on. I didn't wave. I didn't stop. I didn't need to. I had nothing left to say and no questions left to ask. That chapter was closed, and for the first time, I didn't feel sad about it. I felt free. That evening, James called. He asked if I wanted to go see a movie. I almost said no out of habit, but then I thought, why not? I wanted to feel joy again, even if just a little. We watched a simple film, something light and funny. I laughed out loud. So did he. After the movie, we walked to a small place that sold warm apple pie. We shared one and sat at a tiny table near the window. James looked at me and said, "You smile like someone who's learning to live again." I looked at him and said, "Maybe I am." We didn't kiss that night. We didn't need to. But something opened in me again, a door I thought I had locked forever. I started to write small thoughts in my phone, not dreams, not hopes, just things I noticed, a song I liked, a moment I felt calm, a place I wanted to visit. These small thoughts felt like seeds. I didn't need them to grow fast. I just needed to know they were there. I didn't know if James and I would become something more. I didn't try to guess the future. I just let it unfold. Some people think love is fire and pain in big moments. I used to think that too. But now I believe love can also be quiet. It can be in someone waiting for you outside without a word. It can be in a warm drink after a hard day. It can be in a smile that doesn't ask for anything back. That's the kind of love I want now. Not perfect, not loud, just real. 1 year after Arthur left, I walked by the office where we first met. The building looked the same, but I didn't feel the same. I wasn't the girl hoping for love in secret texts and lunchtime walks. I was the woman who lost everything and built herself again. I smiled at the building and kept walking. I had new places to be. Now, when I sit by my window at night, I don't feel empty. I don't count the things I lost. I feel proud because I made it through. I still don't know what comes next, but I know this. I will keep choosing peace. I will keep choosing people who don't leave when things get hard. I will keep choosing myself. Thank you for being with me through this story. If you've ever lost something or someone, I want you to know this. Pain doesn't last forever. One day, you will wake up and feel light again. One day, you will smile without trying. And that day will be worth all the others. I hope you have enjoyed the story. Like and comment if you want to hear more soon.